Hey everybody, welcome back. This is going to be the second in my videos of how to make a belt sheath with an integral belt clip for the Leatherman Juice XE6. And I made a mistake in the last one and I made it right at the very beginning. I made a design element that I did not like and I do not think is going to work out well for us, and I think we're going to probably have to start over. So it's a new day, fresh cup of coffee, fresh thoughts in my brain. Let me tell you what I did wrong. You'll first off note that the Juice XC6 is smaller at the top and bottom than it is in the middle. So my idea was to go small at the bottom, have the sheath spread out to the middle, and then go straight up. That would let me get it in and out, and it would keep the bottom from rattling around. But if you'll note the side of it, let me go to the side without the corkscrew. The side does not swell out. The side is the same dimension other than the rivets all the way up and down. And my design, where I use the extrusion with the taper angle, makes it bigger, makes it go from small to big over here too, which is going to let it do one of those. I don't like that. So, and it's going to cause another thing. I don't like that. So with a fresh day in mind, let's take another look at it. Going to pop you over to Fusion here real quick. And let's take a look at the one we have and let's think about what we're going to do. So here it is. I don't want that swelling here. I want this side straight up and down. And to do that, I pretty much have to start over. Also, because it narrows down here, that means my belt clip can only really be this long. Yes, I could make it longer and put a great big nub on it, but nothing about that sounds good to me, and I know I wouldn't like it. So in order to get this over a 1.5 inch belt, I have to make the clip longer. If I was just going to hook this in a pocket, which I'm probably going to do anyway, that wouldn't be a problem. But you know what? Let's make it so it can go on a belt. So let's get us a new tab open and let's create a new sketch. We're going to create it on this bottom plane, of course, because we want to build this as if it's coming up on our printer from the build plate upwards. That's how I like to do it anyway. I am going to right click my little thing up here in the upper right hand corner, and I'm going to make sure I'm set to perspective with ortho faces, because that's the only way things look right to me in this program. And when things don't look right, you don't think they are right, and you will change things based on that. Even though you know you shouldn't, trust me, I've done it. So it's always best if they look right. So let's sketch a center rectangle, and I know my dimensions, and this is going to do another thing for us. This is going to let us know that that fat area in the middle is the correct dimension. I was guessing with the other one. I won't have to guess anymore. So we want to be 30 by 28, and I want 30, and it doesn't matter which side I do it on. Whoops, 30. We want 2 millimeter walls, so 30. Tab to move up to the next one, 28. Enter to lock it in. There we go. Now, how the heck am I going to make two of these dimensions change and not the other one? Let me show you. And this is a cool technique, and I'm not going to do any near the amount of coolness that this thing can do in this. So in order to do that, the first thing I need to draw another rectangle up here in, up here in space somehow. To do that, I need something to draw on. There's no faces or bodies up there, so I need a plane up there. So come to Construct and click Offset Plane. Now it's going to ask me what plane I want. I want to draw on the same plane as this, so I'm going to pick my top plane, what I call the bottom plane because it's a 3D printer, and we're going to drag it up, and I know I want to be 41 millimeters, which is half the height of our tool. So there we have it. So now let's create a sketch. Let's create it on the new plane we just made. And now we're going to do another center rectangle. Sketch, rectangle, center rectangle. Let your mouse lock in the center. Left click and drag out. And I know I want this. I know I want this to be 36, 36, tab, and 28. There's a number of different ways I can do this. Since I know what the dimensions are, I'm just going to type them in and we'll lock it in. So there we have it. So now we need to connect these two. This is where, I mean, the offset plane is kind of cool in itself. You can do a lot with offset and angled planes. But this is kind of a cool thing that I liked. And let me show it to you. We're going to come up to create, and we're going to create a loft. A loft lets us fill in between two faces or two sketch objects, things like that. And as you can see in the little example there, it can go from square to round or round to square or octagonal to round or octagonal to square, whatever you want. Back in the bad old days when I worked in other people's shop building things out of sheet metal, I had to, on more than one occasion, make a piece of ductwork that went from a square duct to a round duct. And let me tell you, the amount of design and work on a press brake to make that part, I mean, I spent half a day making one of those. And we don't have to do that anymore. It's much, much easier now. So, loft, it's asking what do we want to move our loft to. There's lots of controls over here. We're going to leave them all alone for now because this is just really simple. So we're going to click, we want to go from there, and we want to go from there, and we're going to click OK. And there we have it. Now we're going angled up in these two faces, but these two faces here are still on a 90 degree. So there we have it. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to shell it. So we're going to say modify and shell. We're going to click on our top surface. We know we want 2mm walls, so 2 and enter. And there we have it. Now we want to bring the rest of it up, don't we? Because this is only half height. So we are going to say create and extrude. And while I have most of these shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts that I use memorized, sometimes when my geometry starts to get confusing, I will still go up to the menu because I'll get the shortcuts mixed up and then the confusion multiplies. So create and extrude. I want to extrude this rim. So I'm going to click on this rim, put my pointer on it until it's highlighted, pull it up, and let me zoom back out a little bit. And I know I want to come up 41mm, which is the other half of my part. And if I haven't already mentioned it, middle mouse wheel rolls in and out, middle mouse button moves from side to side and up and down, and right mouse rotates things. So there I have it. Now I know now I have this nice flat surface all the way full length. I can put a nice long belt clip on. I know my tool will go in and it won't rattle all over around this way, although chances are it's going to rattle back and forth here, but I don't know what I can do about that. I can't really do anything about it. So let's come over to the back plane, and we can't do it on the back because I made that one taper. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So let's make the belt clip. We've only been 8 minutes. So let's make our belt clip. So we are going to create a sketch. We're going to create a sketch on this nice flat plane. And before on the other one, when all of it went like this and this, I simply extruded a surface like this out. I don't want this whole surface extruded out for the belt clip. So I am going to come to this one, and let's click on the right up here on our little view cube. Let's click on right so that we're right on that surface. Let's zoom in a little bit and get it centered. Now, I know the first thing that I'm going to need is a line to help me center. Yeah, I got this green line here, but I can't do anything with it. So I'm going to hit L for line. I clicked the wrong thing. What did I click? I didn't click L for line. There we go. I'm going to put it on down here. I am going to drag it up. I am going to click. I'm going to hit escape to get out of my line tool. And now I'm going to click on my line to highlight it, and I am going to click construction. Now that line cannot move, and it cannot affect. I could probably go up and down with it. No, I could probably go up and down with this end of it here. Yep, I can, but I can't move it because I locked it into the center. I can't move it off. Now, if I needed that line to extend down further, I wouldn't be able to lock it in the center. So I draw it out here someplace, just make sure it's a 90, make sure it's long enough, then highlight it and click coincident and put it on my center, and then it would lock it in. But I don't need to do that in this case. So there we have it. Now I have a center line. So we need a rectangle. So sketch and rectangle and center rectangle. If I'm going too fast for you guys with this, I suggest you either go back and watch a couple of my previous tutorials or ask me down below. If enough people do, I'll probably make a video just for whatever you're confused about. I might make it anyway just because I like doing it. So I know I want to be locked in at the top with this center rectangle. I don't want a center rectangle though, do I? I want a 2-point rectangle. See, that's what happens when you get me talking. So sketch and rectangle and 2-point rectangle. I want to be locked in at the top. I'm just going to draw it. And how long do I want my rectangle? I want a 3mm wall at top. I want 5mm at the bottom. I'm going to write this down because I'm not going to remember them. 3mm at the top, 5 at the bottom. I want 40mm for belt spacing. So 43 and 5, you wouldn't think I would have need to write that down. It's 48mm. So we're going to make this 48mm. 48, enter, and let's lock it in so it can't be moved. So I am going to, I wanted to make the sides, so let's D for dimension. I should have made the sides what I wanted when I was there, and I forgot. Right now it's 17 something something something. I'm going to make it 20. Hit enter. Okay, now I have a 20mm rectangle, but it's not centered. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to dimension one or the other of these sides. It doesn't matter since it's locked in at 20mm. I'm just going to pick this one. I'm going to dimension that to our center construction line, and I'm going to call it 10 because that's half the width. Enter, and now I'm all locked in. All my lines are blue. All my lines are black. Which means I'm locked in. If they were blue, that would mean there would still be a dimension I can move around. Whenever possible, I like to lock things in. If you're making something really simple like this, it probably doesn't matter. But when you're making something complex, boy, it sure helps to have things locked down. You wind up spending hours on something, then spend hours printing it and find out later that because you didn't lock a dimension down, it moved and you didn't notice it, and you're not very happy about that. So let's extrude this out. I'm going to hit E for extrude. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to pull it out. Now, how far out do we want to come? That's a bit extreme. I want to leave 5mm width for our belt to go in, and I want to leave 3mm wall thickness, so 8mm. So we're going to extrude it out 8mm. That wasn't that extreme, was it? Let's hollow out our belt clip, and I think then we'll stop here for the day. We're pushing the 13-minute mark, so that'll be about perfect. So we want to sketch on this surface here. So I'm going to click Create a Sketch. I'm going to click on that surface there, and let's zoom in a little bit, and now I want another 2-point rectangle. So sketch, rectangle, 2-point rectangle, and the only place I want it locked in with it is the bottom. But I got to be careful because it will try, you notice how it will try and lock it into other places. And if I do that, it won't let me dimension it, or it will give me an error telling I'm having an overdriven sketch, which doesn't work out well for anybody. So let's kind of make sure that's not locked. Let's click it. Now I'm going to hit escape to remove my rectangle tool. The only dimension now that's black is this one on the bottom because I locked it into that bottom line in our geometry. These others are not. So first thing let's do is dimension it. D for dimension. Let's hit this one. Let's hit this one. I know I want that 5mm. Enter. And now what I could do, I could hit D for dimension here and here, or I could lock this line into there. I like the latter better because, again, here's something slightly new. So we're going to come down to our constraint menu over here in the sketch palette, and let's click collinear. And that's going to make two lines be the same, one on top of the other, so to speak. I'm not sure what the correct word is other than collinear, but with collinear click, let's click this one. Let's click this one in here, and boom, we're in. So now all we have to do is dimension that top one. And I'm going to hit escape to get rid of my collinear tool. I'm going to hit D for dimension. I'm going to click this one and this one. And I think I said I wanted 3mm, so I'm going to hit 3 and enter. And now we're all locked in. Let's extrude that. Escape to get rid of our dimension tool, E to extrude, click on my new little rectangle. All lines are black, it's locked in. I don't want to make a new body, which if I drug it out there I would get. I want to make a cut, so I'm going to come this way. Now, I could, over here in my extrude, I could tell it distance 20 millimeters. But what if I come back later and decide, whoops, what are we doing here? I goofed up. Oh, I really goofed up. All right, let's go back to E for extrude. Let's click on there. Let's drag it back over. Sorry about that. Things kind of wowing around. What if I tell it I want this cut to be 20 millimeters deep, and later I come back and say, wow, I'd really like to have this 25 millimeters or 22 millimeters. Now my cut's not going to go all the way through, and I'm going to have to fix it. Instead, I can come over here, and instead of distance, I can say all. And now my cut's going to go all the way through this object, and it will go all the way through it no matter how much I change it later on. Click OK. And now after my screw up, we are back to basically where we started from before. And unfortunately, that's what happens when you're designing things and it's the first time you're doing it. Sometimes you have to come back and redo things. It's unfortunate, but sometimes you learn things too, and it's good. So now we're back to where we were, except now we have a belt clip long enough to work. We have nice flat sides on the front and the back that our tool will not rattle, but we have and plus we know this dimension across here is correct where I was guessing before. So I'm going to leave that there for now. We'll come back next time. And since I already had everything I wanted to do next in mind, the next video is probably going to follow pretty close to this one because I already knew what I was going to do. I just couldn't do it with what I had. So very soon we'll have the next one. Hey, if you guys like this video, if I've helped you or taught you something, please like and subscribe. Don't forget my affiliate links below, and have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye for now.